Are you able to hear us now? Yes, fantastic. Just to reiterate, if you're online and would like to speak, please use the hand raise function and include a name in your screen name so we have something to identify. In the room here, we have Karen McCormick. The podium, please.
Good evening. My name is Karen McCormick. I live at 305 Winnipeg Drive.
Our ad hoc committee meeting. We then have my chairman's report, followed by library updates from Scott and team. We will be reviewing a policy. Then we'll have our committee and liaison report share outs, followed by treasurer's reports, and then we will cover off on old business. So to begin, Chris, do you mind grabbing the sheet from over there? We can call people up or we'll now open it up for room here. Once the starts here.
Yeah, perfect.
All right. So first up, in the room here, we have Karen McCormick. The podium, please.
Good evening. My name is Karen McCormick. I live at 305 Winnipeg Drive. I'm also a member of the representative town meeting, the legislative body of the town. I'm here speaking on my own behalf, not in any official capacity as an RTM member. I just wanted to, obviously, I don't know where the ad hoc committee is with their ultimate decision with respect to, let's talk about it in the book that was being reviewed. But I would like to make a comment in anticipation of a decision being delivered this evening to everybody here and everybody online. And that is that if the ad hoc committee uses and enters some kind of directive on this particular book, that it be moved out of its current location, whatever that decision might be. And I have no way of knowing what that decision is. But I would like to point out to 18. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCormick. Next up, we have here in the room, Sharon, is it Pastilli? Thank you.
The free means that the appropriate review for this particular piece of material was not done in advance of the book being brought into the library. So I'm calling for, if ultimately that book is moved, for an overhaul and assessment of the evaluation process that is put into place and is utilized in order to determine the materials that are brought into this library and all the town's libraries for consumption by any child under the age of 18. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McCormick. Next up, we have here in the room, Sharon, is it Pastilli? Thank you.
The freedom of education to prevent them from, doing something, from not having the education that they need in order to be able to protect themselves. And so I'm asking you to, that features the artwork of Keith Haring. And Keith Haring, as you may know, was an AIDS activist in New York in the 80s who succumbed to AIDS. And a lot of the reason how HIV was spread is that there wasn't sufficient education. And I lived through this working in the music business in the 80s and 90s and had people that I know die of AIDS because they were not educated. The freedom of education, book accessible to all, and those who are defined as young adults, represents the civil liberties of our young people, their freedom of information, their freedom of education, to prevent them from, doing something, from not having the education that they need in order to be able to protect themselves. And so I'm asking you to uphold our democracy by not limiting the access to this book to young adults, however you
We're still
define.
doing this? We're still.
And I appreciate, all of the consideration that you've given this, and I hope that you recognize.
I sent you an email, and I actually posted something online. It was very similar, but and then someone responded to what I posted online, and I responded to them. So I'm just going to read that person's name. I understand you and
Hand raised or attempting to. raise their hand. Right. All right, then we'll go in the room. Bill Gerber.
Hi, I'm Bill Gerber. I'm on the RTM representing District 2 tonight here as a citizen. I sent you an email and I actually posted something online. It was very similar, and then someone responded to what I posted online and I responded to them. So I'm just going to read that person's name. I understand you and many others often gets in the way of the former. There are too many famously failed programs, campaigns, and slogans that were completely ineffective in curtailing teen sex, drug use, alcohol use, spread of AIDS, teen suicide. When I went back to school a few years ago to get a master's in public health, one of the most interesting aspects of the course of study dealt with the societal tug of war between A, maximizing public health program effectiveness, and B, a fear of normalizing societal taboos by practical recognition of what is actually pervasive in society. The latter often gets in the way of the former. There are too many famously failed programs, campaigns, and slogans that were completely ineffective in curtailing teen sex, drug use, alcohol use, spread of AIDS, teen suicide.
With that, I believe we conclude public comment. If there's any additional that is. All right. Please, and actually, do announce your name.
And it's not because publishers, librarians, book distributors, teachers, many sex education professionals, and many young adults who get something positive out of it are monsters, stupid, or can't see the obvious. It's probably because a lot of people think this type of book is needed and useful by addressing what many young adults are already feeling, wondering about, thinking about, doing, or being pressured to do. See it that way, but that's your opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gerber. All right, any hands? With that, I believe we conclude public comment. If there's any additional that is. All right. Please, and actually, do announce your name. I can take it down.
Lori Quick, do I say my address? 22 Carlton Street. The only thing I wanted to comment, whatever decision is made, no one, and everybody on the bandwagon of book banning, which wasn't the point of a challenge, because if we couldn't do this, there shouldn't be a challenge sheet on the library website. No one mentioned the fact that these authors of this book are sex educators, or no one but these authors never collaborated with sex educators. So I think that I question that the validity. I'm not saying the content of the book and the topics it addresses is bad, but for the age group it's being presented to, professionals weren't even consulted. If anyone did their research and listened to their author talk with the New York Library, you would hear that in their background, which I forwarded to the trustees, the link to the authors. So no one's mentioning any of that because everybody's on this book bandwagon, but I don't know how many people did their research, and that's the only comment I wanted to make. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Quick. All right. So now, oh, yes.
Information was vetted.
Thank you.
Information was vetted through the publisher to a number of sex education experts.
It wasn't televised. It wasn't encouraged. It they didn't put out any kind of notification.
And Nicole Stanley,
publicized.
1041 Rose Road. I have two comments, actually. I'm happy to find the backup, but with regard to what the last speaker said, that is not true. The authors were, the information was vetted through the publisher to a number of sex education experts. If anybody remembers my comments from our first meeting on this, I'm not a fan of the book. I really don't like it. But I will tell you that if we come to reclassify this book and movement is ever made to start a library-wide vetting process outside the purview of our librarians, I am going to lose my mind and it will not stop. Because I am not going to let, the angry mob tell our librarians how to do their job. It is disgusting. It is disgusting. It's shameful that we're talking the library. Be embarrassed that we're talking like that. These people have master's degrees in library science. We are not, this is not, a democracy in the library. Sorry, they're the experts here. Sometimes what the experts have to say matters. And when I hear that, I got a body reaction. It is so vile to me. So if we do reclassify this book, I would really urge this board not to open up that can of worms because it's completely disrespectful to every person that works in this library and everybody who comes into this library. And by the way, if anybody's keeping track, the age of consent in Connecticut is 16. So vetting library materials for 18 and under is absurd. I'm really disgusted. I hope you
Support
Thanks.
Sharon if she knew. And
Yeah.
it
Sounds like it.
was a little vague to me.
Please, if you don't mind signing in or just providing.
Sharon if she knew, and she knew it was this
My
week.
name is Ruth Cronin, and I'm just going to be very brief. To the kids to be exposed to or not exposed to in a public forum paid for by our tax dollars. So I give everybody a chance to express themselves and be respected for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cronin. Okay.
What is it going to be next? Like, are we going to ban books on Indigenous people? Are we going to ban books on LGBTQ? Are we, like, this is going to open up the worm for everything. And I agree with your comment. As librarians, we are educated. We have master's degrees. And I think there are some teenagers that are not comfortable with this topic, and maybe this book will help them. And this book is positive. I mean, it does.
Sharon if she knew, and she knew it was this
My
week.
name is Ruth Cronin, and I'm just going to be very brief. To the kids to be exposed to or not exposed to in a public forum paid for by our tax dollars. So I give everybody a chance to express themselves and be respected for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cronin. Okay.
Kids talk. So I hope you don't ban the book. I think it's helpful.
I thought
Thank you.
public comments were over.
Thank you,
Is this
sir.
library?
This is what I don't know.
I can't
We
understand
missed
what's
the
going on.
beginning, so.
Yeah.
And there was nothing, like I said, sent out this time. I had it on my calendar for last week, and then I asked Sharon if she knew, and she knew it was this
My
week.
name is Ruth Cronin, and I'm just going to be very brief. To the kids to be exposed to or not exposed to in a public forum paid for by our tax dollars. So I give everybody a chance to express themselves and be respected for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cronin. Okay.
An opportunity to express their opinions is democracy. And I personally feel that this is pornography. It's being given to children. 14, 15, 16, 17 are minors. And giving pornography to children that are minors is a Class D felony in the state of Connecticut.
we can argue about what's pornographic and what isn't, but I think that you have to have some respect for the law and for the level of decency that we want our kids to be exposed to or not exposed to in a public forum paid for by our tax dollars. So I give everybody a chance to express themselves and be respected for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cronin. Okay.
Can you identify yourself?
Marcy Spoliar, I'm a member of the Air Force as an officer and a pilot serving this country. So, you know, I think I did a pretty good job raising them and not showing them information like this. You guys can show your kids what you want. I had a discussion with Scott about this in the beginning. That's your business, that's fine. But I think that it's pornography. A lot of people do. They're just afraid to speak out because they don't want to be canceled or treated disrespectfully by a lot of people in this town. Give everybody a chance hearing me. And let's all respect the democratic process in this town and give everybody a chance to express themselves and be respected for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cronin. Okay.
Can you identify yourself?
Marcy Spoliar. I'm a member of the RTM, but I'm speaking for myself. I live at 110 Brookridge Avenue. I just wanted to say, I do think that this is a democratic process. I appreciate that there's those forums to offer opinions, and I think it's very important, but part of the democratic process is choice. And one of the things with our public tax dollars is to offer choice within the library. So while this book is not for you and may not be for somebody else, it is enough to offer somebody else to do it, whether they want to see this book or not. So we have to offer them the choice. You have the choice of not allowing your kid to come to the library. You have the choice of telling them to stay in the kids section. We have the choice of having this book available to our teens. My child is here today. My child is 17. I support my child reading this book. I support them having this book. I know that there are many people whose parents do not teach them and do not give them information, and they find it in different ways that are not appropriate. And I find that this is helpful and choice. I have to say, when this book came out, my mother went to the library and got the book. We revisited our sex education talk from many years ago, and she felt it was very helpful for her. So I encourage you to keep this book exactly where it is for this age group, and it is choice. So we have the right to access.
Yeah.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. In a second.
Second.
Peter? To our next agenda item, which is the review of our previous meetings minutes. First, let's review the minutes from our September meeting, which was conducted on September 12th. The trustees just to go through and review the minutes and let us know if there are any edits or adjustments. Yeah.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay. In a second.
Second.
Peter? Yeah, we're gonna vote. Like we always do. Yeah.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, do you have a second?
Second.
Peter? What? Yeah, we're gonna vote, like we always do. All right, all those in favor? Unopposed? Yeah.
Make a,
Yeah.
make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, do you have a second?
Second.
Peter? What? Yeah, we're gonna vote, like we always do. All right, all those in favor? Unopposed? So the ayes have it. The minutes are approved. Now, if you would just please review the minutes from the ad hoc committee meeting that was conducted on September 19th.
As well as question.
Yes.
I don't know if this is appropriate or not to put in the, as well as, going back to somebody's comment earlier.
It's for that meeting. I don't think it's necessarily appropriate to include that in that venue. To that time, I know I've seen a lot of engagement from the community that we maintain that vigor.
There was no disagreement between individuals. And I think that it should be mentioned that that meeting was the best example of how public discourse should be engaged in, as well as going back to somebody's comment earlier.
It's for that meeting. I don't think it's necessarily appropriate to include that in that venue. To that time, I know I've seen a lot of engagement from the community that we maintain that vigor and enthusiasm for our library and commitment to our library.
Active displays for Hispanic Heritage Month.
Value to that, I see it. I don't know if it's necessarily pursuant to the maintenance of the minutes of our meetings that we include that. However, I will say when we have the committee share out, please do share that again. So we will include it in the minutes for this meeting as actually decreed. But in terms of the minutes for that meeting, I don't think it's necessarily appropriate to include that in that venue. First to that time, I know I've seen a lot of engagement from the community that we maintain that vigor and enthusiasm for our library and commitment to our library.
Adopted displays for Hispanic Heritage Month, under circulated titles, books related to our podcast. Today, DPW came over. We all
18th of September. All those in favor? Is everyone? And so approved, so moved. All right. Now, into the chairman's report. Obviously, this has been an interesting last month since we last met. And with regards to that time, I know I've seen a lot of engagement from the community that we maintain that vigor and enthusiasm for our library and commitment to our library.
adopted displays for Hispanic Heritage Month, under circulated titles, books related to our podcast. Today, DPW came over. We also discovered there were some electrical issues. My day was a day.
Obviously, we are here as a board because we want to make this library a valuable resource for our community, for the people of our community. And, you know, what I would say is obviously book challenges are one thing, but to all those that have been involved to maintain that energy and support for the library throughout, we aren't limited to just books. We have a seed library. So for those of you, I know there's some people who probably haven't heard about this yet. You can check out Seeds we maintain that vigor and enthusiasm for our library and commitment to our library.
Adopted displays for Hispanic Heritage Month, under circulated titles, books related to our podcast. Today, DPW came over. We also discovered there were some electrical issues. My day was a day. Want
to recognize the hard work you guys do with all of our resources, not just books, everything. I really love our seed library, guys. It's time to turn in seeds if you check them out, okay? So I think that the big thing I do want to say is there's a lot of energy behind this, and a lot of spirit. And to this committee, this Board of Trustees, that we maintain that vigor and enthusiasm for our library and commitment to our library. Obviously, we've learned a lot over the last month, but I think amongst all is that we're all here for a reason. And, you know, as we'll go through, there's a lot of work we have to do over the next forever. So with that, I will end my report and cede it over to Scott and team for the library updates. So we'll start with the operations report.
So Adult Services report that they started brand new book clubs at Maine, Woods, and in outreach to the Bigelow Center in September. We're seeing about 18 teams a day at Woods for our Down Under activities. Children's reports the return of early literacy events in September, including a very successful sing and stomp outside at the gazebo in the green. Circulation staff did displays for Hispanic Heritage Month, under circulated titles, books related to our podcast, Exploring the Outdoors, National Preparedness Month, and Banned Books Week. At the time of this report, we were about 75% over last year in terms of visits, 41% the main library, so we're seeing about 13,000, and 126 at Woods, about 9,600. There were 3 incidents in September. 2 of those incidents, police were called. One incident, which took place on 9/10, a younger patron appeared to be in distress. FPD was called, and the individual received the care they needed. I wanted to note this to the board because he told the staff he came to the library. He was new to Fairfield, and he was told by teens that the library was a safe place to go. In September, there were 8 work orders put in. 7 of those 8 are closed. This included some issues with our entrances at Maine, which are once again broken. So luckily today, DPW came over. We also discovered there were some electrical issues. My day was a day. Made the majority of the bathroom faucets in the library not work. Luckily, we came over, James Ryan came over, and most of the issues are resolved. The entrances do work except for one door, which needs a new motor. In terms of COVID, there were a few COVID cases in September. However, this week, really starting today, we're down about 3 to 4 staff members due to positives or possible positives. This includes our delivery driver between, we're having issues with deliveries. So just be patient with us in terms of that. And that's it for the report. And I would like to hand the rest of my time over to 3 staff members who served on a committee who did review this book and our process and our book selection policy. So
Great.
I'll cede the floor to them.
Thanks, Scott.
I'm going first. There you go. Hi, my name is Tamara Lynn. I'm the head of the Children's Services here at the Fairfield Public Library. I have a master's degree in library science. I've worked in libraries for 19 years, including 5 as a teen librarian. I'd like to thank the library trustees for allowing me this opportunity to speak this evening. We've heard a few misconceptions during the proceedings that I would like to clarify at this time. First, the book in question, let's talk about it, is not in the children's collection. It is housed in the teen room on the 1st floor in the main library building, while the children's room is located on the 2nd floor in the main library. Second, there have been statements to the effect that children may stumble upon these books while left unsupervised in the library. To be clear, no child under the age of 12 should be in the library without a parent or legal guardian. Fairfield Public Library has a board-approved unattended child policy. The policy states that children under the age of 12 may not be left in the library unsupervised by a parent or caregiver. Exceptions may be made during specific supervised library programs for children in grades 6 and up. Children under the age of 12 must have a parent, caregiver in the immediate vicinity of and in visual contact of that child. This was established in accordance with the Connecticut state law, reference Connecticut General Statute, Section 5321A, leaving a child unsupervised in a place of public accommodation or motor vehicle. Any parent, guardian, or person having custody or control or providing supervision, or any child under the age of 12 years who knowingly leaves such a child unsupervised in a place of public accommodation or motor vehicle for a period of time that presents a substantial risk to the child's health or safety shall be guilty of a Class A misdemeanor. Therefore, no child under the age of 12 should be left unattended by their grown-ups anywhere in the public library, including the teen room. Finally, when it comes to children and the library collection, I want to emphasize that children of any age, are best served when parents are engaged in their child's reading choices. When parents express an interest in what their child is reading, there are a whole host of benefits, including the opportunity to discuss difficult topics. This is why the library carries such a diverse collection of genres, subject matters, and backgrounds in order to address the multitude of interests and questions that children have. And by having such a diverse collection is how the library best serves Fairfield. The staff are there to help parents and children navigate to the topics that interest them, and parents should always decide what is appropriate for their child. In regards to the book in question, based on my professional experience and my professional experience as a former teen librarian, Let's Talk About It by Erica Moen and Matthew Nolan is shelved in the correct location and is indeed an asset to the teen, also known as young adult in the publishing and library world, collection. Thank you for your time.
My name is Philip Barr. I'm head of adult services at Fairfield Public Library in Fairfield, Connecticut. I'm a graduate of Penn State University. I received my master's degree in library science from Syracuse University, as well as a certificate of digital librarianship. I began my library career at Fairfield University 14 years ago before coming here for the past 8 years. I love being a librarian. I want to thank the Library Board of Trustees for allowing me to speak tonight. What head of adult services means is my staff and I manage everything to do with adults in the library: programming, collections, instruction, and education. I work closely with both Tamara Lynn, who you just heard from, and Jennifer Laceman, our teen librarian. Because we are speaking about a teen book, I would like to focus on Jen's contributions to the library. She continues to work adult information desks at both locations. As head of teen services, she is highly professional, and her work continually exceeds standards both internally with the amount of her work output, as well as externally, where she creates professional teen spaces in 2 buildings with welcoming, authoritative collections in a nuanced manner to reflect the complexity of teen services. I'll end my comments with the actual story of how Let's Talk About It came into our teen collection. A little over a year ago, a mother came to the adult services desk asking for sex education books she could share with her teen. I took her into the teen room and showed her the section. After I left, she selected a few and took them home. A week later, I noticed one of the books returned on the cart behind circulation. I just casually paged through it and noticed some of the content seemed outdated, in particular to gender. Jen looked it over herself and made a professional decision to weed and replace. The book she replaced it with was Let's Talk About It. As a professional librarian and member of the LGBTQ community, I support keeping this valuable fiction continuing for its target audience as part of our diverse collection of books on sex education.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jen Laceman. I live in Fairfield. I have 2 sons who've graduated from Fairfield Ward, and I have 1 son who attends Mill Hill. I've worked for Fairfield Public Library as a teen librarian for over 14 years. I have been head of teen services for the past 4 years. I have a master's in library and information science, a Juris Doctor degree, and a bachelor's in gender studies. I've run hundreds of programs and recommended hundreds to thousands of books to teens and their parents. I've spent countless hours of my own time reading YA books so that I can provide the best reader's advisory possible. Part of my job is to select the print and e-materials for the young adult collections that fit our collection development policy that's been submitted. I'd like to highlight a few things that inform my decision to add a book to our collection. Besides reading reviews for every single book that's purchased, I take into consideration our readers' requests. I closely follow circulation trends within the YA collection, monitor materials to make sure they are current and accurate, and make sure selections are representative and inclusive of the diverse world we live in. And to give you some idea of the scope of this task, from this year, from January to August, we have added a combined total of 681 print books to our 2 teen areas at Woods and Maine. With that in mind, I'd like to address the selection of the book at hand. As you've heard, it was brought to my attention that I needed to update our sex education information to be more inclusive. I started my search and research and discovered that this book was set to come out in 1 month, and it had glowing reviews from 4 professional journals. Once the book was ordered and we received it and processed it internally, it was given to me to do a final processing and place on the shelf as every single YA book in this library is. I looked through the book and remember thinking this was a much more inclusive book than the one it replaced, and being impressed that they'd spent so much time discussing relationships and consent. Fast forward to September 7th, I received a call from one of the complainants asking me to remove the book from the collection based on a handful of screenshot images. I explained that this book was purchased following our collection development policy, but that I would review it in its entirety. I was asked multiple times if this was something I approved of and if I would give it to my kids. I explained that we could not base our selection of books on our personal opinions.
I further explained that I fully support a parent's right to oversee their teen's book selection, but that they do not have the right to make those decisions for other parents. I have read this book cover to cover and firmly believe it belongs in the teen collection. As someone who has worked at a domestic violence center, I can tell you, having entire chapters dedicated to consent, jealousy, rejection, and abuse in a succinct and honest manner is unique to this book, and it is vital information for teens. And having inclusive, affirmative information about sexuality, gender, and body image can be life-saving. Removing the book or moving it to the adult section or behind some desk not only restricts access to information, it also stigmatizes individuals and their information needs. I'd like to thank the Board of Trustees for allowing the public to comment on this request, and I recommend that this book continue to reside in the teen collection at Fairfield Public Library.
Thank you very much. Right. Scott, at this point, there are a couple board process updates we want to discuss.
So the town librarian and the administration makes the following suggestions to the trustees. Some of them we're already doing, and some of them I do believe we need to vote on at a future meeting. The first is to establish an email for the board for members of the community to contact them. Over the last month, I've reached out to different commissions in different libraries and found out that this is a common practice in Connecticut and also a common practice with commissions in Fairfield. I do believe the board will need to vote on this moving forward in the future.
Excuse me, Scott, sorry, I'm trying to concentrate on that. So if you need to have some conversation with the outside, I want to listen to what Scott's saying. So, thank you.
The other is eliminating public comment, which is the choice of the chair via email by 3 p.m. day of the meeting. This was a major issue, and I want to thank the trustees that helped me try to get together some of the public comment from our last meeting, but this is something that's within your purview, within the chair's view, and I would like to continue doing that for all of our meetings moving forward. That way we have public comment, we can have that ready to go. For any documents created by staff or including reports and memos sent to the, should be sent to the town clerk, including all supporting documents like this wonderful treasurer's report. So they all need to be combined, put together and sent and put on the website. In the past, we answered kind of requests for this, but from now on, the library will fulfill requests for such information once it is posted to the website so that it's appropriately vetted and put together. And then additionally, and this is something the staff will be doing, we will be now putting our meetings posted on our website as well as the town site. One thing that I have heard was there was a lot of confusion about our meetings, when our meetings were, where information could be found. So we've decided that it will, we're going to have to put it on more than one calendar. So I believe this meeting is on the library's website, but I know all future meetings will be put on the library's website as well. And we will always direct people who are interested through that link. We will help them link it to the agenda, which is on the town's website. And that's it for that.
Okay. Great. So the only thing it sounds like we need to vote on for, which will be next month, will be to include to create an email for the board.
Yes.
Okay. We'll make sure to have that on our November agenda.
We can't add that to the agenda because this is a special.
Correct. Yes. We'll only be addressing old business at this point.
I agree with the recommendations. And I agree it has to be put on the agenda for the next meeting. I think that in terms of process, the way this should be done is a formal resolution should be drafted by the administration along with a brief little background piece about why this recommendation is being made, and that that the administration's recommendation should be clearly stated, whether it be approval, disapproval, or additional discussion. So that if we, for example, use the Board of Education process, that's the way they handle these types of procedural things, we need a historical record of why we're doing what we're doing. And generally, it's pretty smooth.
And Peter, that's in reference to creating an email address for the board.
Yeah, I think that we're a public institution and we should operate the way a public institution operates. It's a process issue more than anything else.
Scott, with respect to that, so you and I connect and make sure we have everything required for that.
We could probably borrow Board of Education language.
If you need any help with that, those,
All right, and then the other items, I don't believe we have to vote on because it's more operationally from your perspective. The only other thing that I wanted to discuss was the submission of the agenda for our meetings. And in the absence of Christina being able to send, which occurred this past month, if a member of your staff would be able to submit the agenda to the town clerk. All right. Items for next month. And now the financial and budget reports.
The library spending is on pace with pre-pandemic years. Some book spending may be down due to issues with Baker and Taylor, who is one of our major book distributors, who just ran into some cybersecurity issues. We were not able to get books for a while, so that line may be a little down. But other than that, our lines look pretty healthy, and it looks like we're spending towards part-time employees because our hours have expanded.
Great. Great. All right, our next item is a policy review. We'll be reviewing the unattended child policy. One thing I would like to note to the board, just as an FYI and a process update, is that moving forward, Scott and I have had a discussion about, we've obviously introduced some new policies within the library recently that have either needed to be updated or needed to be introduced to fill a gap. And as part of that is we should aim as a board to be reviewing or addressing a policy need or addressing an existing policy in each of our meetings. So we'll be sure to, we'll be including another either existing policy in next month's meeting as well. So for today, we're going to be reviewing our unattended child policy, which everybody should have in their packets. Scott, if you want to just voice it over just a little bit, your memorandum.
Well, Tamara did a really good job of explaining it, so thanks. But the trustees were sent the unattended child policy. The board adopted this policy April of 2018. It was strange to me being from another state. My last library, you were allowed in the library 9 and above. So this was a shock to me, but then Jan said, nope, this is state law. So it's, there are no significant edits. This is a very solid policy. Whenever we bring a policy to you, we look at what other libraries are doing. And we also typically, if there's changes, we'll send it to the town's council. We've made no changes, so no need for that. And managers review this policy at the same time that trustees do as well for feedback to let us know if there's something they think we should change. But really, other than conforming it to our current format, we want all the policies to look the same. There is absolutely no changes, and a reminder that you must be 12 and above to be in the library unsupervised, and children must follow the library's code of conduct. So as there should be discussions about what children are looking at, there should also be a discussion about children's behavior. I shared with you not too long ago, we had a scooter incident at Woods. So, again, please, members of the public, when speaking to your children, remind them that there's behavior that they need to follow while they're in our buildings and on our property.
So just ask the trustees to take a moment to review, and unless there are any edits that are needed, we don't need to pass anything, but just want everybody to make sure that they've read through the entirety of it. and that we confirm that we still think this is an appropriate policy for the library, and we'd like to keep it in place.
Again, just for future reference, this is clearly the type of example where we say there's a formal resolution, resolve that we may, for example, resolve that we maintain the current policy of ages 12 and up, 12 and under. Policy will be reviewed as necessary in the future, determined based on state law. But again, this is an excellent document.
Peter, would you like to move to maintain we can vote on it. To make it.
Yeah, you can today certainly vote on it. I'm just saying for future reference, I would.
Yes.
Write this differently.
Yes, this
Yes,
is a unique, we've
moved.
been put into it with the special, it being a special meeting is a bit unique in terms of our ability to vote.
We can.
Right.
Oh, see, now we can't.
So
And
we can,
Peter, my experience is if you do not make changes to policy, you don't need a resolution to change it. You can stay mum on it, but it may be different here.
Well, you come out of the library world, I come out.
similar to the email piece, let's discuss.
We'll discuss.
Yes, but thank you for the feedback. All right, with that, we'll move into. With that, we will move into our committee and liaison reports, beginning with our ad hoc committee share outs, which I believe Christina, you are, would share out just high level.
Sure, I can share out. Christina McGowan, I am a member of the board. I'm going on my 6th year and a member of the ad hoc book recommendation committee. So as noted at the special meeting on September 19th, I said I was writing I, but I didn't know. So feel free if you want to come in. I had the opportunity to review the request for material review, as well as the packet of information that Scott Jerzonbeck, town librarian, made available to the public at that meeting, which included the Fairfield Public Library collection development policy. He also made available the book, Let's Talk About It, The Teen's Guide to Sex, Relationships, and Being a Human, which I read in its entirety. In addition to listening intently at the September 12th, September 19th, and thank you again for your comments at today's meeting. The board has also had an opportunity to review all public comments that came in via email up through 3 p.m. today. So those public comments continue to come in, and the library staff scanned them and sent them, and earlier comments were put in with the minutes. The majority of the public comment shared at the September 19th meeting and through emails spoke in favor of retaining the book in the collection. When I was considering, and I'm speaking again for myself, so Jill and Peter after me, feel free. When I was considering my work for the ad hoc committee, I kept on going back to 2 things, and those were policy and principles. So the policy that I refer to is the Fairfield Public Library's collection development policy that states that the library system does not advocate particular beliefs or views, and the selection of any given item is not an endorsement of the viewpoint expressed therein. Selections are made on the merits of the work in relation to the collection development and needs of library patrons. And in the September 12th meeting, we received a memorandum, again, shared with the public about Let's Talk About It. And what was referenced was that this particular book received 4-star reviews from several publications that librarians use to assist with collection development. I note too that particular book, the book that we are looking at and that we've reviewed, was named in 2022 by the Young Adult Library Services Association of the American Library Association as one of the great graphic novels for teens. When I speak of principles, I speak of the principles that the Fairfield Public Library endorses and operates under, specifically 3 key documents of the American Library Association, the Library Bill of Rights, the Freedom to Read Statement, and the Freedom to View Statement. And then I'm going to just return again to policy, again on the website. That's within the scope section of the Fairfield Public Collection Development Policy related to the Young Adult Services Collection. The choice of materials used by the young adult is the responsibility of the young adult and their parent or guardian.
I don't have anything to add, just that I was really pleased that everybody came, and we were talking about before about the democratic process. Everybody came and was very respectful of one another. That was super duper impressive to me. I'm actually in my last semester getting my own master's in library information science at the University of North Carolina, and I have actually shared some of the process that we've all been going through and how impressed I've been, and really feel quite fortunate to be able to go through this entire process. So I don't have anything
On the
else.
side of the table. You guys are getting your money. He's here.
It's the in thing to do. That's what I have to add.
Thank you, Christina. Peter, anything to?
I can only echo the remarks of Christine and Jill. I happen to believe that we have followed a process, and I think that we're at a point of making a recommendation. Again, I think the words of Thomas Jefferson seem to echo in my ears that you have a right to disagree with me, and I will do everything possible, including right up into my death, to let you have that right. Now, I may have paraphrased it a little poorly, but I think this was a very meaningful experience in terms of going through this. I think we all also agree, just as a sidebar, that the trustees really have never had an audience. Well, at least during my tenure. And the 12-year-old comedian in me would say, what kind of good emotional issue can we come up with for next? No, but I really do believe and feel that the civility of this community came out in full force during the discussions about this issue, which is a serious issue. It's a complex issue, and it's one that people feel strongly about. We really appreciate the fact that it was vocalized the way it was vocalized.
Great. On behalf of the board, thank you to the ad hoc committee members for undertaking this. Obviously, new path trod for our board, but I do appreciate the hard work each and every one of you put into this, for the appreciative to the community with their involvement with it. Yes, just stating my appreciation for everything you guys have done. So moving on to another fun topic, space planning. Chris, where we at?
So I think important things to note, one is the legs were all replaced.
Wonderful.
So we've got brand new legs on the ones that were broken. And then I believe Friday, you said the designer's coming.
Friday
Okay.
or tomorrow, Thursday.
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 Okay, Thursday. So I'll coordinate with you. I'll try to swing out by, get some input, but that's basically.
So at that point, we should have an idea for the final phase.
Moving on to phase 3.
Yep, final phase next month. We can discuss, and you know the numbers well enough, Chris, that we can.
Figure out what the plan is.
Exactly. Peter, any update from the fundraising committee?
Well, this seems to become the redundant. I'm ready to pay for lunch for Scott, me, and the head of the Friends of the Fairfield Public Library. And you can record that in the minutes.
That's public knowledge now, so Don better show up. Next we have our
Great
friends.
goose.
Oh, wow. Don, when you read this, take him up on it. I joke because Donna is not here tonight. We do have a representative from the Friends. If
We
you'd
have
like-
Kathy Scoville,
Yes.
the vice president, she's gonna start and I'll update.
Fantastic. Thank you, Kathy.
Just an update, we had our annual meeting in September. It's well attended. We had the food truck festival, so. Success, we don't have yet.
Great.
Despite the wind.
Yeah, it was a little windy and chilly.
Yes.
Next week is National Friends of the Library Week, October 16th to the 22nd. And it is a wonderful opportunity for our organization to promote the group in the community, to raise awareness and to promote membership. It's also an excellent opportunity for the Friends to be recognized for their help and support of the Fairfield Public Library. We have outreach and membership initiatives planned, but I ask and encourage each and every board member to reach out to me to make sure that your Friends membership is current.
Seemed like a pointed look right there, Dan, you know.
Each and every board member to just email me whether our Friends membership is current. And then next up, on October 30th, the Friends will be participating in the town's Halloween on the Green at the Museum and History Center.
Fantastic. Thank you so much to the Friends for being here and for everything you guys do as well. All right, Aaron, Treasurer's Report.
Yes. I'll start out with an update of the two endowed funds that are with Vanguard. So we have two separate accounts. They're tracked separately, the Jennings Memorial. Both had similar return. I mean, they have similar returns, similar makeup. They were down just under 8% for the month of September. When I last gave the update in early September, we were up from Q2. We unfortunately ended the quarter similar to the market, down about 6% in asset values from the end of Q2 for the Q3 again, down about 6%. In line with the target stock bond market index. I talked to Dan Voss very briefly, our advisor over Vanguard last week. The first week of October is looking slightly better, but this really, as we all know, changes day to day.
Yes.
As far as an update on the First County Bank, we're almost there with getting the access. We had one final form that I had signatures for. Thank you to Scott for walking over. Which is a smaller bank. They don't have everything digitized. So that you have to get manual signatures. So we're almost there. So I hope to hand that in tomorrow and then I should.
Great. And we're all set with the Vanguard account, right?
Yeah, the Vanguard account's all set.
Updated on
Yep.
names on there.
Yep, all set.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Aaron. All right, we'll now get into old business. We spoke about this last meeting. So next month will be 1 year that Scott has been with us. And what a year it's been. Pursuant to that, we will be scheduling a board meeting, special meeting for us to review Scott's performance. We posted, we will be able, because it is his performance, we'll be able to do it in an executive session, but it will be available, and the meeting agenda will be posted. I will coordinate with the trustees to find a time that works for everyone. And we'll do that and share it out with Scott and get his feedback as well as we can provide ours. I will provide templates and thought leadership on that. Peter, if you have anything that you've done in the past. A font of knowledge over there, Peter. Seriously. That would be great. Yep, that would be great. All right, and the only other item we have to address is the status of our book challenge. Prior to anything we do on this, I would like to mention that public comment is available via email following this meeting. This is our last item on the agenda. So we've heard a lot about the book, its merits within the collection, within the the value of it within there. I think there is something to be said for not having a book like this within the collection. I think there is something to be said for having this book in the collection. But in the idea of understanding why we're making this, what decision we are making, and ultimately the decision is that whether we keep this in the collection or not. So I would like to move that we remove, let's talk about it, from our collection.
Second.
All right. At this point, I will open it up for debate. Personally, I want to put the question out there. This is the question at hand. Whether we remove it or not, whether it's in the collection, that is the question we are here to answer. I have my perspective on it. Ultimately, I've gone back and forth, but I think that there is a lot of value to having a book like this in the collection. I understand the reason for removing it as well. So are there any other comments? Any other debate that would like to be? I can recognize you if you'd like to make any comments. Peter?
Well, I too have reviewed the book at great length. I actually ask other people to look at it as well. I think the removal of a book from any collection, whether it be this book, whether it be a book like Mouse, or a book like Oliver Twist, is a slippery slope. And it's the slope which ultimately could lead to decisions being made which harm our democracy and our belief in the democratic values of this country. Especially when we look at some things that are going on around the rest of the country. And the type of divisiveness that many of us have been experiencing going forward. So whatever my opinion of the book is really immaterial. My opinion, and a very strong opinion, is that book stays in the collection, that we respect the views of the public. At the same time, we respect the views of our professional staff, and we support the way that our professional staff has gone about not only selecting this book, but other books within all of the collections that we have, including the sunflower seeds.
There's more than just sunflower seeds, Peter.
I know that's a little tongue-in-cheek, but
absolutely,
I strongly believe the books should remain within the collection. And we do not want to start to open that door, which will lead to other people coming along and saying we should remove something from our collection.
Okay. And to be clear, we are only voting on the removal of book from the collection, nothing beyond that. Is there any other comment, or are you ready for the question? I'm actually getting to Robert's rules. I remembered my Robert's rule. The question is on the adoption of the motion that we remove, let's talk about it, from the collection of Fairfield Public Library. As many as are in favor, say aye. Those opposed, say nay. Nay. So with that, the motion fails. And with that, I would like to state that we trust our staff. The book remains in the collection. We find it to be the responsibility of the staff to place it where it would be of the most value to the community and of most safety to our patrons. And that's that item. So does anyone move to adjourn?
So moved.
Peter?
I'll second it.
Seconded? All in favor? All opposed? Fantastic. All right. At 8:21, we Adjourn the meeting.